Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host Ryan, and today we're going to be taking a quick look at TNA Slammiversary, which is tonight, and we will go through our predictions for each of the matches. Now it's just going to be a quick rundown of every match and giving you my thoughts on who I think will win. And of course, as always, feel free to let us know in the comments section below who you think will win each of the matches. It'll definitely be interesting to compare at the end of the pay-per-view. So this is gearing up to be TNA's biggest event this year so far, with a lot of NXT guys involved, and of course the returning phenomenal AJ Styles. So we'll start with match number one, which will be part of the pre-show, which is Steve Macklin versus Jake Something and Mance Warner, with Steph DeLander, and they're taking on a team of rope breakers, I believe they're called, which is Rail One, which is obviously Enzo Amore, who used to be in WWE, Zilla Fatu, who is Umarga's son, and John Bishop. So it's a 6-man tag team match on the pre-show, and to be honest with you, I can't see anything other than the rope breakers winning this one. So why would you bring in this team just to take a loss? It makes no sense. Many are starting to believe that this is a way for Enzo to get signed by a major company, as he's just been doing very, very small venues over the last couple of years. And Zilla, obviously, he is one that could be signed to WWE and be pushed into Bloodline 4, 5, whatever it is that we're up to with that storyline. But yeah, I'm going to say Rope Breakers take the victory here. Up next, we have the Elegance brand, which is Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance, and they will be taking on the Inspiration, obviously known in WWE as the Iconics, which is Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay. They will be going for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Now, if I do remember right, they were in fact Knockouts champions before, weren't they? Yeah, they were one-time Knockouts champions, tag team champions beforehand. To be honest with you, I can't imagine it'd be a great match. You know, none of these wrestlers are I wouldn't say any good, but none of them are brilliant, or they're not great for the in-ring work. So I just put it down to an Inspiration winning the tag belts for the simple fact that they've not long returned. So unless it's just literally going to be a short stint back in the company, which I'm pretty sure they signed a deal for at least a year. So I can see them picking up the tag team titles. Then we move on to the main card, and we have, how many matches have we got here? 7, is it? Yeah, 7 matches on the main card, and then obviously that appearance by AJ Styles. So we'll look at AJ, to be fair. So obviously AJ Styles coming in. Now, when they originally announced that he was coming in, they'd done the teaser trailer, and then announced him the next day. At the time, Steve Macklin, the TNA International Champion, wasn't involved in the 6-man tag match, so I thought maybe do an open challenge and AJ coming that way. That obviously isn't going to be the case. I would expect AJ to probably just come in, cut a promo, you know, saying he's back in TNA for a short stint, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he gets involved in the main event because it's a 3-way, so there isn't any disqualifications of that. But to be honest with you, I just expect him to maybe cut a promo, maybe get interrupted by someone, and then set up a match at a later date. Hopefully he has a good couple of months run in TNA, considering WWE aren't using him that well at the moment. So for me, I think he's going to cut a promo, and then someone's going to come out, and then he gets a match set up for the next pay-per-view maybe. So we'll look at the singles match for the X Division Championship, and it's of course Moose the champion, who's been a very dominating champion since becoming X Division champion, versus the very young and talented Leon Slater. You know, this lad's got a very, very bright future ahead of him, and he is one of the rising stars for me in TNA, and one of the main reasons I do keep an eye on TNA is, in fact, both of these, I've always been a big fan of Moose. I'm hoping that Leon is able to capitalise on his popularity at the moment, picks up the victory in the TNA X Division Championship. I don't think a loss here for Moose would harm him, and then we can get Moose starting to make his way back to the main championship picture, and we can finally push Joe Hendry and the likes of Nick Nemeth out of that world picture scene and start getting some proper heavyweight contenders back like Moose. So I'm going to say Leon Slater gets the win to be able to free up Moose to go back for the world title. So up next, we look at Dark State, which is the NXT tag team, the Retribution ripoff, if you like. You know, they come in, they made, let's say, shockwaves, but you know, they debuted attacking people, and we've just seen this storyline too many times now with factions doing that sort of thing. And of course, they've started, and no one really cares about them, to be fair. And they turned up, obviously, in TNA, attacking the system. And like I say, obviously, Moose is tied up in the X Division Championship match. So we have the system being involved in this with, of course, Matt Cardona, who is a former tag team champion with Brian Myers from the system. And of course, JDC and Eddie Edwards are involved in this match too. To be honest with you, I'm just going to say the system, Matt Cardona wins, because I don't think that WWE know how to book Dark State. It's exactly the same situation as Retribution. They come in, made a bit of a fuss, people are talking about it, and then they just haven't capitalised on it, and again, no one cares. So I can't see anything other than, I can't imagine that TNA's biggest faction is going to lose to an NXT group that no one knows what to do with. And no, obviously the main thing is the system hasn't got their biggest guy in, which of course is Moose. And maybe you could take a loss with Matt Cardona getting pinned, and then obviously that frees them up to bring Moose in for the future match. Don't know. But I'd just, to be honest with you, I'd like to see Matt Cardona ride with the system for a little while. I love Matt Cardona and Brian Myers together, so I would not be against that as an idea. So I'm going to go with the system and Matt Cardona for the win. Up next, we have Tessa Blanchard and Indy Hartwell. Indy has obviously been released from WWE earlier in the year. She's been turning up on the independent scene. She's been winning championships, as they normally do when they are released from WWE. They start to rack up a collection of belts. And Tessa obviously returned to TNA earlier in the year with a very, very mixed reaction from fans. And she still gets booed and chants of "you're a racist" and stuff at the matches, but TNA don't seem to care about that because they still had her go over Jordan Grace earlier in the year. Now Grace obviously was on her way to NXT at the time. So to be honest, I expect Tessa to come away with the win here. Same again, you know, she'll probably get a mixed reaction. Obviously they've turned her heel now. But she'll get a mixed reaction as they are still trying to push her forward, and I believe she will be the one eventually to become TNA Women's Champion, or Knockouts Champion, sorry. And so Tessa for the win. Up next, we'll look at Mustafa Ali versus Cedric Alexander. Cedric's not long come into TNA after again being released by WWE. Mustafa Ali had a phenomenal last 2 years since being released from WWE. He had a great run as the X Division champion. You know, he appeared in the likes of MLP, New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's had a really, really good run. And to be honest with you, I can't see it stopping here. I can't see him getting beat by Cedric Alexander. Mustafa Ali should be one of the top faces in the company. And hopefully, again, like I say, if Leon Slater gets the victory and becomes X Division champion, I'd like to see Ali and Slater mix up for the X Division championship. So I'm going to go for Ali for the win. So up next, we'll look at the Tag Team Championships, which is a four-way tag team ladder match for the TNA Tag Team Championships. Obviously, we've got the Nemeth brothers. They are the current tag champions, Nick and Ryan Nemeth. We have the Hardy Boys, the former tag champions, which is Matt and Jeff. The Rascals, obviously, again, former tag champions, which is Myron Reed and Zachary Wentz. And First Class, are they called? Which is Flop Dollar and Casey Navarro. To be honest, I don't mind in this one, as long as AJ Francis and Navarro don't become tag champs. Not bothered whether the Nemeth retain or not. I believe, Nick Nemeth is big of a shock as it was when he come into the company and won the TNA World Championship, and obviously he also went to New Japan and won the Global Championship. I believe his hype since going to TNA has now died down, so it would be great to just keep him in the tag division for a while with his brother. The Hardy Boys, I think, are in that position now where they're just going to be tag team now until they retire, which is fine. For me, they are the greatest tag team that ever lived, my favourite of all time. And the Rascals, are a great tag team. They do really well together. I think they've been tag team championships. How many times have they been tag champs before? Now, once, twice. I can't even remember now. Just the once, is it? Yeah, Miguel and Wentz. Okay, so it was Miguel and Wentz that are former tag team champions. So to be honest with you, we could do with giving the Rascals the win here, maybe. That might not be a bad thing to do. Maybe put the belts on the Rascals as it's Reed and Wentz this time. Do you know what? I'm going to go for that. I mean, I was going to say Hardy Boys just because they're my favourite tag team, but I'm going to say the Rascals pick up the victory and the tag team titles. So we'll move on to Masa Slamovich of TNA versus JC Jane from NXT. Winner takes all match for the TNA Knockouts World Championship and the NXT Women's Championship. So they're going to be a joint champion. So we've had Trick Williams become the first ever TNA World Champion while being an active member of the NXT roster. And now we have the chance to crown the first champion who's going to hold both belts, one from NXT and one from TNA. And to be honest, I think it should be Masa Slamovich for the simple fact that she's all-round better wrestler than JC Jane. I'm not a big fan of JC. I've watched a few of her matches now. I don't think she offers too much. Even the commentators seem to put her down. I watched a match against Jordan Grace at Evolution, and Michael Cole, was it Michael Cole? Turned around and was saying, she's basically an underwhelming champion. Masa's just a better all-round fighter. She's the better striker, grappler. And to be honest, I think it'd make a statement if they'd done it the other way around, because a lot of people probably expecting the NXT superstar to come out with both belts, considering Trick Williams won the TNA World Championship. So I'm going to go with Masa Slamovich. That takes us to our last match and the main event of the evening, which is Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry versus Mike Santana for the TNA World Championship in a triple threat. Trick Williams has been great in NXT. Really enjoyed his run as the NXT champion. I think he's got a really good future ahead of him when he gets to the main roster. Joe Hendry, burst onto the scene last year after 20 years in the business because of his song, basically, because he's an entrance guy. I'm not a big fan of putting world titles on people just because they have an entrance that's catchy, hence why I was never behind Jey Uso winning. And then we have Mike Santana, who was part of Proud and Powerful, or originally LAX. His tag team has now made himself known as a single star. And you know what? For me, I was one of the ones that said, either Santana and Ortiz won't make it on their own, they won't become much, because I could only see them as being a tag team. Mike Santana has been brilliant this past year. He had a record run as House of Glory World Champion. He had some really good matches there. And then he's not come into, he was already in TNA, but he blossomed more in House of Glory before TNA, and now he has the crowd behind him. I think it'd be silly if they did anything other than put the title on Mike Santana. He's red hot right now. He's one of the hottest guys in the company. He's showing up every match. It's just I can't say enough about Santana and how much he has proved me wrong since leaving AEW and since leaving Ortiz behind and becoming a singles wrestler. He is now a single star, so strap the TNA World Championship on him. Trick doesn't need the belt. It was all a shocking thing to be able to put a TNA World Championship on an NXT guy. Okay, we've done that now. Joe Hendry needs to disappear from the main event scene. His run as world champion was poor. And, we need to put the belt on someone who's going to show up week after week, month after month, and put on clinical matches as and when he needs to. And that, for me, is Mike Santana. If you look at the last couple of champions, obviously we've got Trick Williams, who's been back and forth because obviously he's an NXT dude. We've had Joe Hendry, which was a poor run. Nick Nemeth, which is again an anticlimactic run. So we need a good, solid world champion now. So give it to Mike Santana and let's see what he can do with the belt. And then again, like I say, you can have Moose going against him. He's a red hot babyface right now, so you can have the likes of Moose going against him as a bad guy. So there you have it. That is my predictions. I predict Mike Santana is going to be TNA World Heavyweight Champion at the end of Slammiversary. So do you agree with my picks? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to give us a like, drop us a comment, and of course, subscribe to the Wrestling Group today.